let's turn now to Hurricane Helene and the rising death toll, with more than 200 people now confirmed dead, hundreds more still missing. Helene, now the deadliest hurricane to hit the mainland U.S. since Hurricane Katrina in 2005. President Biden and Vice President Harris touring hard-hit communities across the Southeast, and earlier this week deploying active duty troops. Donald Trump preparing to make his second visit to Georgia today and claiming without evidence that the Biden administration is withholding aid from states including Georgia and North Carolina.
They stole the FEMA money just like they stole it from a bank so they could give it to their illegal immigrants that they want to have vote for them this season. You know, they're trying to get them on the voters' roll. We cannot let that happen.
The White House pushing back against those allegations, releasing a statement that says this, quote, "This is false. The Disaster Relief Fund is specifically appropriated by Congress to prepare for, respond to, recover from, and mitigate impacts of natural disasters. It is completely separate from other grant programs administered by FEMA for DHS." Our panel is back here. Now, this has clearly become a big flashpoint on the right. Alex, they're talking about, they're tying basically immigration, all of the places where they feel stronger in with this disaster relief question. Overarching all of it is the fact that, I mean, the response we're a week out now. There's still people missing, cut off from the world. We're just playing video of a man holding up a mirror to try to get attention from a helicopter pilot. I mean, this is happening in America. That is a challenge for Biden and Harris.
Yeah, and Trump seized on it right away last weekend. He was the first one of these three people to be on the ground when he went to Georgia last weekend. Meanwhile, after the hurricane made landfall, Joe Biden did travel to Rehoboth Beach over the weekend. When he was asked about it, he said, "Well, I had a telephone," and it seemed like a little bit flip. Then Kamala Harris also realized there was a problem because she was out on the West Coast on a fundraising swing and quickly sort of came back. And now you see that they are scrambling to sort of show that they are on the ground. Joe Biden making several visits to storm-damaged areas just the last 2 days. And so they're trying to sort of play a little catch-up here.
Yeah, I mean, Megan, how would you grade the performance so far?
Well, I think it's a little bit more nuanced. The resources that they draw from going on the ground, that takes actually away from people doing rescue and these active, things that the people actually need, the police resources. So I don't think it's fair for them to be on the ground. I actually think it's a mistake for them to be on the ground.
But what about going back to the White House as this is unfolding?
I mean, the president can be the president from anywhere, so that falls a little flat. He shouldn't be so flip, but that's his nature to say flip things. You just saw him say that about Israel, about, are you confident it's not going to rain? So that's just his nature. Is it appropriate? Probably not. Should he choose a different tone? Sure, but that is his nature. But I do think, he was very quick to put out disaster relief declarations. They are very quick to do that. That is always something they do. He's always in touch with the governors and the mayors on the ground. I don't think anyone on the ground is saying that their actions are slow. But being there,
Governor Kemp did complain that some of that not enough counties were covered by the disaster declaration. Said he had to call Jeff Zients, chief of staff, and then get it expanded.
Totally fair. But I also think, though, that optics do matter, and being on the ground matters, and that's what people remember. And so I do think, it is hard. The resource argument is a fair argument, but it is hard to show people and tell people that when they don't have lights, they don't have cell coverage, their family members are missing.
Yeah, I think they want to see leadership. And even last night, he was saying, "What storm zone?" And people are very happy, and you're right. Certainly doesn't look like the people are happy on the ground, but Governor Kemp wasn't happy with the limited scope of the FEMA declaration. And there's also been mixed messages from Mayorkas and DHS and FEMA about this. 3 months ago, they were saying we have plenty of money, we'll be fine. Recently saying we don't have enough to get us through hurricane season. And so that mixed messages, I think it's been a lackluster response across the board for a storm that is sneakily historic.
Yeah. Joining me now to talk more about this, Kevin Fry, Washington correspondent for Spectrum News, New York One. Kevin, good morning. Wonderful to see you. Let's talk about these disaster politics, because the optics of this in a campaign season can be very significant. If you remember back to Chris Christie and Barack Obama in the wake of Superstorm Sandy, really got under the skin of Romney aides to see those pictures. Now Brian Kemp not appearing with the sitting vice president. What does that say to you about the state of things, and how do you think this ultimately cuts in the election?
Right. So, I mean, look, for Kamala Harris, this is both a difficulty and also an opportunity for her, because she can play this presidential role above politics and also be the consoler in chief, taking on one of these presidential responsibilities where you're actually outreaching to folks, making them feel better in their time of crisis. At the same time, it has given rise to a line of attack, even if it's not based in fact, for the Trump campaign. And Trump is able to appear with Brian Kemp, with other folks, to show that he is making inroads with parts of the party that, quite frankly, were quite critical of him just within the last few years.
Yeah. the central challenge here, too, I mean, as this response goes on, there potentially is some risk, I think, for Democrats in. There are a lot of questions about all of the people that are still missing in the mountains of North Carolina. How much of a challenge is that potentially for Harris, considering she is the sitting vice president?
Right, and I believe it is now the second deadliest hurricane incident since Hurricane Katrina. Correct me if I'm wrong there. And we all remember the devastating impact that had on George Bush's legacy and the immediate aftermath of that, in terms of people questioning his ability to lead through such a crisis. As we continue to see these communities that are cut off in North Carolina and other parts of the country, particularly in these key battleground states, let's not forget that, that could pose all sorts of difficulties for her as she tries to, outreach to these Sun Belt states.